Hi, I'm Ghalib Kamal and you are watching me on my YouTube channel. Today, No Hijab Day is being celebrated. The purpose of this day is to stand with the women who are being suppressed by Islamic rules and Islamic hijab, and they are being subject to Islamic patriarchy, where they are being forced into marriages, they are being wed at very young ages, they are facing all kind of segregation and discrimination. Getting free from hijab is the first step in getting freedom for a Muslim woman. So we have to remember all those women who have suffered because they have been considered as a dishonor to the family, especially women like Kandil Baloch, who was subject to an honor killing in Pakistan. And there are countless other women who have suffered the same fate at the hands of their family members who think that women are the keepers of a family's honor. So today, more than 95% of Muslim women face some kind of restriction on what they wear, and they are not even allowed to think about going against this way of thinking that women should always dress modestly or they should always stick to the strict guidelines of Islam. In many Muslim countries, a woman cannot even imagine to get out of the house without a hijab. They can even have legal action taken against them if they do not follow the strict hijab and modesty guidelines put forward by the state. These states include Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Afghanistan, where you can face serious social repercussions if you do not follow the modesty guidelines. Today, Muslims say that hijab protects a woman against the harassing eyes of the non-mahram or the one who is not related to them. And they give an example that a woman is like a toffee or a chewing gum. If left alone without a cover, then insects will come and they will start to eat it. So this is the kind of example that they give for a woman. And this is what they think of woman independence. So they also think that if woman does not observe hijab or dress modestly, then she would be subject to harassment and she would be eventually raped by some man. But let me tell you one thing about Islamic history. If you read the Islamic history books, you would come to find that even before Islam, there was no hijab before Islam. None of the Islamic historians say that people were living an immodest or immoral life before Islam. And even before the command of wearing a hijab for Muhammad's wife was issued, they were not observing hijab. They were just living on the old Arab pagan customs. And it was not considered immodest or immoral. If you look at Islamic societies like Pakistan and Afghanistan today, you would see that women are not the only subjects of sexual harassment. Young boys are also, and even men are also subjects of sexual harassment. And there are rape cases for young boys and even men at times. And even in the Islamic theological schools called madrasas, like it's a norm that the children who are students there, they are sexually abused, they are raped, even sometimes they are killed. And these days in Pakistan, there are repeated occurrences of rape cases against boys. There are as many rape cases reported for boys as are for girls. And according to what is the state of the society, it can be said that the number of boys who are abused is much greater than the number of girls or women. It's a pandemic that is happening in Pakistan and Afghanistan and many other Muslim countries. So should these boys be wearing hijab? Should they be subject to hijab? Why didn't Islam or Muhammad think about these boys who are sexually abused? Because even in that time, it would be a norm. There are many societies in the world where using young boys as sexual, objects is a very common thing. You cannot say that only women are subject to sexual harassment or arouse a man's sexual feelings. No, some men are even aroused by young boys, and these child rapists are doing it again and again. So to protect a woman against sexual harassment, you have to empower her. You have to make strong laws that protect her against the sexual harassment. And if you think that Islam respects a woman, that's why it asks her that she should observe hijab and she should dress modestly, then you should ask yourself once again, because at the time of the Prophet, there were also many slave girls in Medina. What is the dress code or hijab for a slave girl? She has to only cover from her belly button to her knees. Her breasts should be fully exposed. And there is even a hadith that Umar saw a slave girl dressing fully covered and he beat her up and he asked, why do you want to make yourself like free woman? And there is another hadith, I think from Abu Huraira, where he says whenever he went to Umar's house, so Umar's slave girls used to tend to them, their breasts were fully exposed. So this is the kind of sexual modesty that Islam expects from a slave girl. A slave girl is not a man, she is also a woman. She is not a person from another planet, another universe. She is a woman from this world. She is as much a woman as a free woman. So if Islam considers women as sacred, if it wants to protect their sanctity, then it should have had same principles of modesty for slave girls as well. But Muhammad had fought many wars and his companions had won many wars, and there were spoils of war, and in these spoils of war, women were also included. And these women who were included in the spoils of war were raped on the same night by the victors, who were the Muslims, in presence of Muhammad. Even at one time, the Sahaba or the companions of Prophet came to him and asked him that when we have a slave girl, we don't want to spoil her. That's why we do coitus interruptus. Like what they did was they did not ejaculate inside that girl because they did not want it to make her pregnant. So what they did was they practiced coitus interruptus. And when they asked this from the Prophet, so he said they should not do it because anyone who has to be born into the world will be born. So he stopped them from doing this. So this was what Muhammad was commanding. I cannot even imagine to derive a result from this hadith because it's too barbaric. It's unimaginably horrific because there is just this sense of selfishness on the part of Sahaba and also on the part of the Prophet. Why? Because no one was thinking for these girls what they might have felt. So it was much better that these men were just practicing coitus interruptus, because at least these girls wouldn't have to go through the pain of bearing a child which is a result of rape. But Muhammad, he did not give it an afterthought, and he said that they should stop doing it. So this is how Islam works. This is what Islam means for women. So if women think that Islam respects them, Islam thinks they are sacred, it believes in their sanctity, it's a lie. It's a total lie, because women should think about all those Yazidi girls who were raped by the ISIS jihadists, all those girls who were sold as slave women by Boko Haram. And many of the Yazidi girls now have kids who are the product of these rapes that were done by these ISIS jihadists. So what do you think? How does Islam respect women when it allows all of this? And many of the Muslims and many of the Muslim feminists will say, okay, these are all lies. These history books are lies. These books could be lies, but as long as there are people who believe in these lies, Islam will be root of all evil that we believe it to be, that we know it to be. And then your first duty is to deal with these people, rather than arguing with us that Islam is correct and these people are portraying a wrong image of Islam. You first have to preach your religion to your own people. And I really abhor the idea of an Islamic feminist. When they say hijab is my choice, it's a total lie. Ask them if they will support a Muslim girl going without hijab, or if they will support a Muslim girl wearing a bikini by their own choice. Then you will have all this kind of entangled answers, circular logics, and all of that. And then you will come to know that all of this is a lie. People like Linda Sarsour and many others, they are just outright flat liars. They know that what Islam says about women, and they want women to be brainwashed in the same Islamic way which suppresses them, which makes them sexual objects. Because when you think that Islam covers a woman from head to toe with a shroud, then you have to see that Islam thinks that the main purpose and the most important purpose of a woman is the sexual desire of a man. Because if there was another important purpose, then hijab will not be that important. There would be something else that would be important. So the first glance at looking at an Islamic woman or a practicing Islamic Muslim woman, you would see a hijab. And this is the first thing that tells you that Islam considers women to be just sexual objects of sexual desire, childbearing machines, nothing else. This is what Islam believes that women are. So many a times when I discuss Islam with someone, I say Khadija, who was the first wife of Prophet Muhammad, was the last free woman in Islam. She was the woman who was a product of Arab paganism. She was a businesswoman of Makkah, among the most rich in Makkah. Muhammad was her servant. Then he married her because she wanted to marry him. And she sent him a message that she wanted to marry him, and then she got married with him. And then she continued to do her business in Makkah. And she never wore a hijab. She was never covered in these black shrouds that they call hijab, and they say that they protect the sanctity of a woman. No, she was never covered. She was always uncovered. She observed the same pagan Arab modesty principles. She did not observe the modesty principles given by Islam that we see many Muslim women observing today. So she was the last free woman. She was a woman who Muhammad was working for. So she was really free. And if you think a woman who does not observe hijab will go to hell, then you should also think that Khadija will also go to hell. So I would like you to be like Khadija, not like Aisha, who was married at 6 years old and then had to observe hijab and then had to live a lonely life because no one else could get married to her because she was considered as a mother of the believers. No, I would like you to be Khadija, who had selected her man herself. She did not marry someone according to the desire of her father or her brother. She did what she wanted to do. So, the first step towards freedom from Islam for a woman is to discard hijab, and then all the other freedoms will just come along. Islam, all the Muslim women who think that they are being suppressed by Islam, they should know that Islam is really scared of free and powerful women. It does not want you to be independent. It's the true patriarchy, which thinks that a woman is worth half as a man. Woman is a sexual object. She's a sexual animal. She should be subject to all kind of discrimination, and she should not be allowed to express herself as sexually, but she should be just a subject to the sexual desire of men and act as men demand her to act. So this is all what I want to say today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you in another video with another topic. Thanks a lot. Bye. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to receive all the notifications. You can also support me on Patreon. The link to Patreon is in the description. If you help me on Patreon, it will be much easier for me to continue my work and spread this message to a greater number of people.